Opo. Opo, pero di, hindi po ganun kasimple yun. Kawawa naman po yung bayan.
Sir, tawag mo daw po ano.
No, sir.
Buddy Kunanan. Tonight's topic is filmmaking, and joining us is a director, producer, actor, novelist, Santiago Santi Larrauri. Santi, welcome back to our second segment. Now, before we talk about that clip, let's talk about the one we watched before we ended the first segment, which was really a montage of your roles over the years. Now, it looks like you've really had a wide range of roles, right? I mean, not just action, you've also done some drama and also some comedy and all that.
You grow into the industry. I started out with action simply because I was a martial artist. And from there, I said, they realized, oh, you can act. So they give you roles. And if you do well in those roles, they just give you more and more roles. And it progresses from there. Next thing you know, as an artist, you also want to challenge yourself. You want to try a more complex role. And that actually inspired me to write, because I started to notice the local scripts that I was receiving, they really only glorified the lead, but they didn't really give anything juicy for the support roles. My roles. There is none. So I said, that's it. I'm going to write. And when I write my scripts, even the supports have really background stories, something that they can really play with and, and pull from the inside out.
Which is nice when you bring out the other characters. No? Now, would you say this is typical of Philippine movies, only where really it really is the bida or the main guy or woman who gets the focus, or is this something in general with filmmaking?
Well, in general, they would naturally focus on the lead, and
that's the story.
That's the story. The lead, and well, the story is the story. The lead plays a part of the story. He just plays a bigger part. Yes, but you'll start noticing that the foreign films were way ahead of us in that department. They actually started building side characters, side stories, just to make it much more interesting. And eventually we've caught on. I mean, the scripts that I see now, especially in the indie film industry, some of the scripts are brilliant.
Nice.
I mean, you're looking at the scripts and I'm like, wow, I have competition. And some of them are what, how old? 19? Wow.
No, a lot of talented. Definitely, a lot of talent.
Very talented.
Going around. Now, I mean, also, we had a taste of your action scenes there. And
Yeah.
I mean, how real are those? So, I mean, for people watching, I mean, it looked like at one point the guy was really throwing you around and stuff. I mean, is it easy to fake that? Were you faking it?
Well, I used to compete professionally, so at one point, no, so I could take a hit. Many times you're fighting with guys that can't. But occasionally, if you come up like with,
Like a lucky punch.
Billy Blanc, with Billy Blanc, we've got Sammo Hong, these guys.
You work with these guys?
Yeah, a lot of these guys. We work in fight scenes together. Dale Apollo Creed. These guys don't care if you hit them. Just go ahead. If you hit them, just the rule is they hit you back.
Ouch.
That's it. But no, in general, we control our hits. The kick stops before it hits the face. It's really the actor's responsibility to do the reaction to make it look realistic. Now, if you're fighting with somebody who can't really make it realistic, you might want to tap him a little bit just for him to feel it.
Yeah. Now, I understand that you are also the head of your own production company, Third Eye Productions. Tell us a little bit about that, because we're going to segue from that to your movie, which you saw, the teaser, Pestaño.
Yeah.
Okay.
Third Eye Production, we put it up because, like I said, I wanted to have a place where my scripts could come to life. My scripts are basically international themes shot in the Philippines. I'm trying, my long-term goal is to try to bring Philippine cinema abroad. and make it naturally abroad. I don't want it as a film festival entry abroad. I want it as a main feature
Yeah.
abroad that they can watch and understand. It's in English, Philippine settings,
Interesting.
but they understand it. They can relate to it. It's something that anywhere in the world it's shown, they'll understand it. So I purposely write my scripts in that manner.
Nice. Is there a difference though, between scripts? I mean, what is it about scripts here in the Philippines, local scripts, that make them, unable to make that transition
The tendency
to international?
there's nothing wrong with it. The tendency
Yeah.
of the Philippine script writer at the moment is that they write scripts specifically for a local audience because that's the audience that
Yep.
they want to say.
Yep.
They don't really have the mechanism to go international because they don't have an international network that'll film in 20 different channels. They don't have it just yet. Even our international networks will film on cable abroad for a Filipino audience.
Yeah.
So it's just like an extension of the Philippines. They don't really make the films for an international market, with the exception of the indie film industry when they go to the film festivals. But again, it only shows in the film festival.
And I guess the template of what works here with our audiences, our local audience, is probably different or a little different from what would work overseas, no? Is that correct?
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
It's based on the story. If the story has an international setting, chances are it'll work abroad because everybody will understand it. If it has a local setting, there's only a few people from abroad that will actually appreciate it, unless you write it in a way that it's an international setting. ABS-CBN seems to be doing that a lot now. They're using a lot of foreign actors, making the film more come out abroad. That's very helpful because it exposes us to them, our culture to them, which eventually will make them understand, our culture and
Yeah.
appreciate our films. But I think a more direct approach is to just get an international theme,
Yeah.
write around it, set it in the Philippines, set it with Filipino actors, an occasional one or two foreign actors, just to give it that international film, and launch it abroad.
Nice. And create jobs here as well.
Exactly.
I mean, all the ancillary
Exactly.
businesses that go with making a film, which is pretty substantial.
And
no?
you have a big line of producers outside the Philippines
Yeah.
that will be willing to invest in it.
Yeah.
Because we can't find them here.
Okay, let's jump now before we lose time in our second segment
Sure.
to a topic which is actually very close to my heart, and that's the Philip Pestaño
Oh, yeah.
story. And it's close to my heart because here on Philippines Uncut, I've actually featured this topic twice. And for viewers watching us, the Philip Pestaño story has to do with the tragic tale of Ensign Philip Pestaño, who was found mysteriously dead on board a Navy ship.
Yeah.
And this must have happened maybe how long
95.
ago? 95, yeah. And this is actually also close to Santi's heart because
Yeah.
Philip was a classmate of Santi in
Yeah.
grade school and high school. He was never my classmate, but we were batchmates.
Yeah.
The three of us were batchmates.
Classmate in grade school, batchmate in high school.
Yeah. Okay, tell us a bit about the story of Pestaño.
Well, we try to make it as neutral as possible. It's really just us as a group, the classmates, the batchmates actually. We decided to chip in with the family, with Philip's family, and sort of make a feature for him. So we initially started with a regular feature, would be his 22nd death anniversary, which we filmed. We made it into a small feature. I gave it as to the family as a gift, and they said, "How can we make this more?" I said, maybe you'd like to reenact some of the scenes, or at least give an idea of what he must have felt like prior to the death. And so we decided. So Tito Pepe, the father,
yeah.
prepared everything for us. He got us a ship. We only had 2.5 hours to film 9 scenes.
Oh my gosh. Was that
The ship just docked. It was
Yeah.
about to leave. So
what kind of ship did you get?
It was a passenger ship,
Okay, all right.
but it had to be in a ship because majority of the story happened in the
For
ship.
sure.
And we couldn't get the Navy ship for obvious reasons to film it.
Did the Navy help in any way or no?
Individual members of the Navy did help
Quietly.
Quietly. I'm sure they don't want to be mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they gave us the ship, and we were thinking we had the whole day to shoot it, and I asked the captain, boss, how much time do we have? He goes, 2.5, 3 hours. Okay, guys, set up the lights. Okay, take 1. Okay, take 2. Okay, next. We had to.
No wonder a few months ago or maybe a year ago, I saw on social media you were posting something about trying to get Navy uniforms.
Yeah.
And I was going, what the hell does Santi need with a Navy uniform?
That was
you
it.
doing a
That was
maritime
it.
drama?
No,
There you go.
no. Of course, at that point we didn't want, because we didn't want anybody to interfere with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we filmed it.
I mean, this is a very controversial thing because, okay, for the people who are unaware or maybe don't know the background of the Philip Pisanio story, he allegedly, right, he committed suicide.
Yeah.
Or others people say he was murdered because he was going to spill the beans on his shipmates who allegedly were doing some smuggling in the south. That's the gist of it, no?
Well, initially, majority of the people believed the suicide story
Yeah.
because we didn't have social media in 1995. There
Yep.
was nothing. It's only later on when the classmates, even I believed it initially that
Really?
it was a suicide.
Yep.
Initially, I thought it was because that's what everybody said. I mean, I wasn't here when it happened.
you
I
were
was actually
overseas,
abroad.
yeah.
You know. So when I came back and they were telling me, no sense, it was not a suicide. And that's when I started researching it.
But I mean, you knew Philip well. I knew him a little bit, but not as much as you did. But he never, I could never imagine that Philip would actually do that. Right?
No, he
Take his
wouldn't.
own. It just wasn't in him.
No, it
right?
wasn't.
So in the movie, do you draw any conclusions?
No.
Do you,
In the movie, we
yeah.
made it as much as possible to present our point of view. It's really what he must have felt like before it happens.
Yeah.
I have a scene there that pretty much says suicide question mark because I want the audience to come up with her. Even if the 10 have been indicted already, so the tendency towards the guilt is point there. You don't want to express that because it's really a court of law. You're supposed to go by the nature. For me, it's more than anything, it's the 21 years to get an indictment.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really
Yep.
my focus here. Regardless of who was guilty, who was not guilty, what really happened, it took 21 years just to get an indictment.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, absolutely.
Who wouldn't go crazy about
Yeah,
that?
and I think majority or almost all of the people involved here or accused of involvement are now retired actually. Or I mean, it's been so long.
Some have left the country.
Yeah. Any reaction from the Navy to this movie when
It's not yet out.
No, I mean, did they get wind that you were doing this? Anything
No,
like
we
that?
kept
Nothing.
it. We kept it hush. It was really a small thing first.
Yeah,
Initially, it was just to film the. It was just to film the rites, the ceremony. It was really nothing to expose in media. It was supposed to be a gift to the family, like a video.
Okay.
But it was then there that the classmates got together and said, "Sans, maybe we can make it better." And that's when the filmmaker and me came up.
How about the script? And as you said, you want to show people through this film what Philip must have been going through, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
How did you get into the character's head? In this case, our friend Philip?
Research, lots of research, talking with the friends, talking with the people that were there, who he's talked to, his father, his mother, brother, sister, all of them. They had something that the stories of the phone call the day before, what really happened, which I portrayed in the scene there. And, what they told me, it paints a picture, a pretty clear picture that he knew what he was up against.
Yeah.
And he was advised not to go back.
Yeah, yes, and absolutely.
But
Did you have access to his shipmates, the people who were actually there with
we had
him?
access to some people, yeah.
And they were
Not the ones
helpful.
necessarily with him there, but people who knew those people.
Yeah.
And who were really into the story since the very beginning, who knew the case very well. When I told them, I need to do some research, they come up to me and say, okay, you can start with this. And I was like, wow.
No, I mean, even from the forensic, I mean, there's so much forensic evidence and documentation about this.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, we featured this twice on the show, and it really is an intriguing story. And I hope that after 21 years, we finally see some light at the end of the tunnel and justice. served,
With the
no?
indictment, that's a step in the right direction,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. Personal opinion only. Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. But it's still 21 years.
Yeah, and you said that this movie, this documentary is going to be released next week.
Next week, yeah.
Where exactly?
Social media. I'm actually submitting it to the family. They brought it to their council, to study it. I wanted to be as neutral as possible with it. I want the audience to be the ones to come up with their own conclusion. But more than anything, it's just a tribute to Philip. It's really a tribute to what he did for us.
Yeah.
And my personal opinion, what he did for us.
Who supported the movie? Because even coming up with a documentary like this, there's going to be expenses and things like that.
The Pistaños. Eventually, it started out just as the classmates. We said, and I said, okay, I'll chip in this much, I'll chip in that. I said, sige, I'll chip in my equipment, my time, my crew. I paid my crew for my own. And then when that story about the to put some parts there to make it more personal, that's when the Pistaños came in to assist us. They're like, hey, we'll help you with some of the expenses and group effort.
What other? I mean, how about you personally? Was it difficult for you to make this documentary?
Yeah,
Right?
kind of because at first I really thought it was a suicide. I mean, from what what they were saying. It's only when you realize, like, wow, when you read the evidence, you make your own conclusions.
Yeah.
When you go through the evidence, and a lot of times you're looking at evidence, how can they see it otherwise?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what can they see that I'm not seeing here? Of course, there's hundreds and hundreds of pages of it, but the ones that I did do, which is most of it actually, and I'm scratching my head, and I'm like, somebody has to tell the story.
So it really is just a reenactment of what happened, but you don't have any forensic, exhibition there or nothing.
No.
It really is just a story, basically.
It's a story. It's really just a tribute to him.
And at the end, like, draw your own conclusion.
Draw your own conclusions.
Excellent, excellent. Santi, we have to pause for a break, but when we come back, we can touch on this topic a little bit more, and then we're going to talk about Isla.
Okay.
Very nice movie that is coming up as well, with a very talented, very beautiful lady, the daughter of a very famous Philippine actress. Okay, so guys, stay tuned for more filmmaking with Santiago Santi Larrauri when Philippines Uncut returns.
Opo. Opo, pero hindi po ganun kasimple yun. Kawawa naman po yung bayan.
Sir, tawag mo daw po ano.
No, sir.
Buddy Kunanan, tonight's topic is filmmaking, and joining us is a director, producer, actor, novelist, Santiago Santi Larrauri. Santi, welcome back to our second
thank you.
segment. Now, before we talk about that clip, let's